21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
We all have this inner mission inside of us, and what we're able to do is help tell that story, that why and purpose behind what we do, and put it on a stage that reaches as many people as possible to impact those people, to make their lives better. When, as an entrepreneur, when your energy is aligned with your purpose, you can do so much good. If it's misaligned, you can feel drained, exhausted, unfulfilled. But if you can align gratitude, almost have energy flow through you, and use that to serve and help other people. And this can be either by doing things or even sharing stories. That has the power to transform lives. And I've seen it happen where people have become very centered through gratitude, and that centering almost builds out an aura or an energy field around them, almost like someone stuck in traffic that's calm, and suddenly the cars around them become calm just because of the demeanor. And so the next step is, how do you then amplify that further? And I believe it's through media, through being on stage, sharing your story, and sharing it for the right reasons, sharing it because you want to help people, not just for your own personal gain, and not being, for want of a better word, disingenuous. You know, really looking at what you can do to help make the world a better place, solving big problems, solving small problems, solving lots of tiny problems for lots of people, or solving big problems for a small amount of people, or maybe both. But it's having that stage and having a coach who can help you maybe take the right direction, not the wrong direction. I know that sounds quite simplistic, but if you've got a story inside of you and you're like, well, like, would anyone even be interested in that? I just don't know. Having someone saying, no, you need to share that story because there's so many people that would benefit from that. Don't bottle it up. You know, you want to make sure you share it. My name's Dominic Forth. I'm the CEO of Thought Leaders America, and this has been a journey spanning multiple decades in media, starting out from the very bottom, all the way to consulting over 40 TV stations across the US, major media markets, New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, and doing really in-depth focus groups and research for not just the TV stations, but for their audiences and their viewers. So really looking at macro trends, not just what people are purchasing or what decisions people are making, but the why behind it. And so it's really powerful. And so as an organization, that's what we bring to the table. You know, if you're an individual thought leader or an entrepreneur that aspires to be a thought leader, we can help you, because we can help you identify not just how you can help somebody, but why they're going to be impacted in the way that they are. Likes, views, clicks are cheap. They're easy, you know, attention is fleeting, but trust is priceless. And so what I can help you do is build trust. So in a world where views, likes, and clicks are highly sought after and yet very fleeting, trust is priceless. And so what we do is really help build trust and credibility with the audience, really help stories that come from the heart. And it's not always the easiest way to identify those. And sometimes it can be quite uncomfortable as well. And many thought leaders we work with shield the stories that are the most impactful. And there's a risk element as well, because if you tell the wrong story, you could have damage to your reputation. So we guide you through that process on what's really going to move the needle. A great example is we had a client very good at what he does in real estate, but when it came to telling his story, it was far too technical. He wanted to share, the revenue numbers, the number of units he sold, and everything else. What his story was missing was why he'd moved from selling single unit homes to multi-unit homes, and then much higher level, really, in some cases risky, but then high risk, high reward ventures that really accelerated his career. The reason why was he had a near-death experience. He was on a rafting trip and the raft capsized and he almost drowned. Now, how did I know about this specific incident? I was actually on that raft as well, and it impacted me as well. We both almost drowned. And on that day, we looked at each other and said, we got to make some changes here. We only have one life. And so as he was stepping into podcasting and TV appearances, he was holding the story back. And I said to him, you've got to tell the Zambezi River story because it resonates with so many people. And not everyone has near-death experiences, but they do have crossroads in life. And so that's an example of how we can help. And he said, well, doesn't that just sound crazy? Doesn't that make me discredited almost in a way that I took a rafting trip and the raft wasn't safe? And I was like, no, it shows that we get a second life. And if you're not telling people to go for it and leading by example, then how are they going to follow you? And so that's what we do. We bring out those stories that people not just want to listen to, but want to follow you and really appreciate you and become your biggest fans. So you might have a story inside of you, a real strong personal story, but you also need a framework to tell that story. Because otherwise, if you come on air, whether it's a TV station or on a podcast, and just start talking about yourself, we know that audiences are, let's be honest, very selfish, aren't they? So what we really help with is a framework. And a great example of this is around Alzheimer's. Now, as many of you will know, Alzheimer's is a very tragic and growing disease, especially in the US. Now, having a personal story about Alzheimer's would, connect with a lot of people. But what many people don't know is the sheer staggering amount of people it impacts and the economic cost as well. So with our framework, what we did was lead first with how many people are affected by Alzheimer's, then the economic cost, and then we got into introducing our spokesperson. So now the audience immediately knows, like, wow, this affects 1 in 3 people. And that's a really, in the billions and if not close to trillions of dollars of impact. Now they're leaning in. Then you start to tell the personal story, which shows why you're qualified. So people now understand, that I'm going to listen to this person. Now, the spokesperson was working for a clinical research trial that is showing great results. So if we'd led with either the personal story or the clinical research trial, people would have tuned out. But because we started with that headline statistic that drew people in, then the personal story, which made it emotionally engaging, now they're receptive to the message that we really wanted to put out there, which was this amazing research, very technical with the results that are happening. And by the way, here's how you can get involved as well. Here's more information and a link to the website. So we guide the viewer through this journey, and that's how we can help. Because if you have it in the wrong order or wrong sequence, you lose people and it's a big miss. And that's the biggest tragedy of all. These great stories, we want to get them out there and really help make a positive impact the best way possible. If you're an entrepreneur that wants to get started on podcasts, there's 3 things to be careful of. The first is before the podcast bookings themselves. It can take up a tremendous amount of time. Pitching, finding contacts, finding the right shows, literally eats up hours every week. And then you get limited access as well. So cold emails often get ignored. Poor targeting can be an issue. You might pitch the wrong thing or the wrong hook. And so what happens is so many people, they have a low conversion rate. They're spending hundreds of emails out, not getting a response. They're missing leverage, and they're also damaging their own reputation as well. So that's just before the podcast. Then you get into the podcast and there's a huge risk of showing up unprepared. So unclear messaging, being overly promotional in the wrong way, maybe a nervous delivery because you're not quite sure what's going to land. And then we see this very often, not being audience centric, having a poor call to action, and the worst of all, having poor tech. So poor microphone, poor lighting. And then finally, after the podcast, not merchandising or marketing it in the right way. So the benefit to hiring an agency, number one, is speed and volume. Can you get me booked? Yes, and quickly. So with positioning that lands with the right crafted pitch, the quality control, so you're not booked on a podcast where the host could be controversial or they've had controversial guests in the past. And then all the ops are handled as well. So the scheduling, the calendar invites, the tech checks, even rescheduling, follow-ups. And then finally, you go on feeling fully prepared, so everything goes flawlessly. You have the right talking points, objection handling if it's needed, the right lighting, camera angle, you name it, everything goes so smoothly. And then like clockwork, after the segment, the marketing materials come out, you're told what to post, when to post it, and now you're getting a true ROI for your time and for the investment, bringing in clients, customers, and referrals as well from a loyal fan base. So a big part of what we do is helping people understand the why behind what they do. And I can share with you the why behind what I do. I have 2 young daughters at home, and so really my goal is to make the world a better place. And I'm not just saying that for marketing speak, it truly underlies everything that we do. So I'm actively involved with their school, with the PTO and fundraising. I'm also actively involved in the community. I've ran races like the Chicago Marathon and the New York Marathon to raise funds for kidney disease and for research into finding cures for certain types of kidney disease, hopefully. And then also this transpires to our work on a daily basis with the causes we support with our clients as well. So we've been very actively involved in the healthcare industry. We have clients who we've helped recruit hospice nurses because it's one of the hardest positions to find just because of the challenges of being a hospice nurse. You're not in a hospital, you're usually at somebody's home. We've helped with education in states where education scores have dropped and children are struggling, helping with new technologies to help improve mathematics scores. We've also helped with retirement planning, things like life insurance for helping with the elderly. There's also some crimes that have been committed, like around home title fraud, that have got national attention, helping to raise awareness across communities all over the US to protect people against such crimes. Again, vulnerable people that might not be that tech savvy. So there's a whole range of causes that we support just to really make a positive impact across the country and across the world, really is the ultimate goal. So that underlies everything that we do. And we feel like we have the opportunity in the network to amplify messages. And we'd love to help you amplify your message as well and promote your positive impact cause as well. So if you want to find out more, reach out to us at thoughtleadersamerica.com. If you have a story inside of you, we can help you tell that story and help you transform lives. thoughtleadersamerica.com. And if you want to connect with me personally, please do reach out anytime. Best way to find me is LinkedIn, Dominic Forth. Feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you and love to find a way to help you on your journey.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries. and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.